I've been drooling over guitars for over 35 years, and now more than ever before, the finest instruments are presented to us in beautiful high-definition images all over the place in social media and in magazines. But should we really be buying guitars without trying them first? I've always felt that a guitar is the tool that we express ourselves through. We have an idea in our musical imagination and we express it through the instrument. We hold it, we touch it. We've got to get a feeling for it. And I've said hundreds of times to people when they ask what guitar they should have, that they should go to a store, try as many as they can, touch them, feel them, play them, see what feels good, see what is right for them in that given moment, and buy that guitar. So it seems right now we have to buy our guitars online. There's no going to the stores and trying loads of different guitars. And the good news is that there's probably never been a better time to do so. For a long time, buying a guitar was a haphazard affair. While we all love to imagine that every guitar was made by a luthier that was passionate about their craft, that's just not really very realistic. I once heard a fantastic story about the Wednesday Gretsch, and I'd like to tell it to you now, as much for the fun of the story as the truthful essence it contains. Monday morning at the guitar factory, the workers arrive after a big weekend. They got sore heads, feeling pretty tired. You can almost certainly guarantee that mistakes were going to be made, and there wasn't a lot of care put into those guitars when you're feeling, not great. By Tuesday, hopefully the hangovers are gone, the working week is starting to get there, but you can be pretty sure things were still pretty rough around the edges. Thursday morning, the foreman would come down to the factory floor and remind the workers their quota for the week. And you can guarantee at this point that standards are going to start to slip. That attention to detail and the finish is definitely going to be going downhill a bit. By Friday, when they know that they've got X number of guitars they have to get done, they've got to get them in the boxes. That was the thing, and that's where little things were left out all completely. Oh, there's no time to buff that, just get it in the box, get them finished. Still to this day, it is the Wednesday Gretsch that is much sought after, the one with the perfect binding and the really beautifully made soldering. That is the guitar that we were all on a quest for, particularly in vintage instruments. On that note, I want to tell you an interesting personal story on that as well. From about 12 years ago, I guess if anyone was doing it now, you'd definitely be taking your camera and filming the whole thing. But I'd finally saved up enough money to get myself a vintage Telecaster. I had my heart set on a blonde rosewood fingerboard Telecaster from mid-60s or something would have been ideal. I found myself in America, so I called up the Guitar Center in Hollywood and I said, how many have you got? And I think it was about 8 that they had in stock. And I said, can you get them all out, put them on a stand, take the prices off, and I'll be down in half an hour. And they obliged. I went down there, set up an amplifier, and started playing through these 8 guitars to see which was going to be the one. The differences were unbelievable. I mean, there were differences in years as well. And some of them were like pristine, mint new, and some of them been battered around quite a bit. But the differences were just outstanding in terms of sound, in terms of playability, how they felt. And it was the feeling thing, like how much mojo has this guitar got? Because I think for me, in those vintage guitars, you can feel something in them. Usually the nice ones are well played, okay? Because if a guitar's too pretty, it means that somebody hasn't found the magic in it yet. Maybe it hasn't got magic. Maybe it was a Monday guitar or a Friday guitar. So I went through and I picked, I gradually went, this one's not working for me. Interestingly, the first one that went back in the box was by far the most expensive. I can't remember the price of it now. It was a mint condition, early 60s Tele. But it was the worst guitar by far. It didn't sound good, didn't play good, wasn't happening at all. Now, in the end, I found the guitar that I still have to this day, a 1966 one with a little kind of red dot that somebody had stuck on the guitar there at some point. It definitely wasn't in mint condition, but it was fine. The case was really tatty. That sort of stuff didn't matter. But I'm so glad that I went through that process. It ended up being kind of mid-level in the pricing. It wasn't the cheapest one, but it was far not the expensive one, because if it had been the most expensive couple, I probably wouldn't have been able to afford it, and I would have had to have gone backwards a bit until I found one that I can afford. But definitely with vintage guitars, it's a really good idea to buy one where you can go and play a few and try and find the one that feels right for you. Now, I haven't done that every time. In fact, I just bought, I haven't even received it yet, 1966 Gibson SG, which I'm super excited about. Now, that one I've bought from a friend who really knows what he's doing. You might know him as Solo Dallas, incredible guitar player, and really knows his SGs. And there's one other guitar that I bought without playing it, and that is my Gibson 335, who I bought from Gregor, a guitar dealer based in Germany, who is also renowned for having really high quality guitars. So if you have to buy a vintage guitar, try and get it from somebody in the know who's going to tell you the truth and let you know if it's a Wednesday guitar. But the truth is, there's never been a better time to buy a new guitar. Production quality is off the scale now, and even cheap guitars come right out of the box playing fantastic with a low action, very unlikely that you're going to have any major problems. Mid-level guitars, again, way higher than mid-level guitars were 20 years ago, and the high end, I mean, wow. When you look at your PRS and your Suhr guitars, they are making the highest quality instruments, and they're all fantastic. I bought a Suhr Alt-T about probably 5-6 years ago now. I rang a few stores to see who had some in stock, and there was one store in particular that had, I think, 6 or 7 in stock. So I went down there on a Saturday afternoon and asked the guys to get all of them out. I don't think they were too pleased about it, but they did it. And I was amazed at how different they were. Now, these were all beautiful guitars. It wasn't like they were all Wednesday guitars. They set up amazingly, played beautifully. They all sounded a little different, and they had a different energy about it. And I don't understand what that stuff is. I don't believe in hurdy-gurdy magic rubbish, magic bean stuff, but they felt different. There was something when I picked them up and held them that they felt different. I played differently depending on which guitar it was. They had some other stuff going on. So even at that like super high end, super high quality, every guitar is beautiful, they're all going to be a little different. Now, had I have just got one in the post and I hadn't played it beforehand, chances are I would have been super happy with it because I wouldn't have known any other one. The fact that I'd gone into the store and tried a few, I found the one that was resonating with me on that day. I don't know, if I'd gone in on a different day, would a different guitar have resonated? Well, I don't know. So while there's never been a better time to buy a guitar online, if you get a chance to play a few of the same model, I would definitely recommend it. And if you're buying a vintage guitar, do try and play it first or buy it from somebody you trust that knows what they're talking about. There's no doubt that buying a new guitar can pep up those enthusiasm levels if they're starting to wane. It's definitely been working for me for all of these years. I've ended up definitely with more guitars than I need or that I actually play. I guess to summarize, my advice would be, if you want to buy a guitar online, maybe buy a new guitar. And if you want to buy a vintage guitar, try and get your hands on it first and give it a good play and see if it's your Wednesday guitar. You take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.